Hey YouTube, you're back here with me and I'm lifting. So you're interrupting. Well, I don't mind. I'll take your questions. Old Uncle E is willing to interrupt his workouts to entertain you with Q&A. So I got one here from No Money Heads Up. He says, yo Elliot, do you recommend doing light deadlifts or lower back work after a deadlift injury? I like that question because just a few weeks ago, I was maxing out on my deadlift and you saw it, right? I did 605, but I don't think I was totally prepared to do that. My body let me know, right? So for the past 2 weeks, really sore on the right side of my hip. I was having some problems. If you notice, I had to back off and modify my workouts for the past week. Really, I should have been deloading, but you know, ego. So I'm back this week, it's Monday, usually deadlift day for me. I was contemplating whether or not I should change my program, and then I realized, no, why change the program when I'm the one that's being retarded with it? So instead of scrapping the program, getting rid of deadlifts on this day because I did something dumb a couple weeks ago, I'm doing what you're asking about, so it's a perfect question for today. Not only am I gonna do lighter deadlifts, like I attempted last week, but I just couldn't finish because I had, my hip was bothering me. But the way I do it is important, right? I call these form deadlifts. So as opposed to when I'm just yanking heavy shit off the ground like I did that week, right? Just get it off the ground and then drop it. I put an extra emphasis on the eccentric portion of the movement, right? So these deadlifts are designed to strengthen all of the weak chains, weak points of the chain, weak links in the chain of your deadlift. So just pay kind of close attention, not so much to the concentric portion of my movement here, but how I lower it down, right? And so there you'll see what I do in order to strengthen the deadlift and continue to deadlift when there are issues, pain, injury, whatever. Slight bend in the knees, about 20 degrees. Tip forward at the hips. Down. There are multiple reasons why you would have pain doing your deadlifts, right? So you got to consider planes of motion. For me, the frontal plane, right? This is the frontal plane. I have a hip imbalance, right? So if anything is different from left to right, it can cause torsion and pain, right? So by mere virtue of me tearing my Achilles tendon causes me to have sort of a hip shift. That's why I have pain. Some people have pain because the front, their abdominals, are too weak to maintain neutral while they do the deadlift. And then third, some people, their low back is too weak to maintain neutral through hyperextension. So although that's not the case for me, I like to maintain strong glutes, hamstrings, and low back. So I'm gonna use the glute ham raise, right, or back extension, depending. And that could be one of the exercises that could support you in your rehabilitative journey through deadlifting. So I'm gonna do it in a kind of a unique way today, where I'm not gonna focus on the reps, I'm not gonna focus on heavy weights, which I can add. I'm gonna focus on the tempo by holding the position up at the top for a few seconds and then letting go. the exercise, do the external rotation of the upper arms, scapular adduction, neutral spine. So I figure although I'm working the hamstrings, the glutes, the low back, I also could use this as an opportunity to strengthen the posture muscles or the stabilizers in the shoulders. Because a lot of guys have problems deadlifting because the shoulders fail or the traps are too weak, or scapular adductors, right? Rhomboids and whatnot are not able to keep the chest up, so there's a lot of like caving over. So by adding just that little extra movement at the top, where you can do them like this, you strengthen those upper back muscles. So if you've been in powerlifting long enough, I'm sure you've heard the name Louis Simmons, right? And the next exercise was created by, popularized by, and then the invention of the machine to support it, all by Louis Simmons. He tells a story about how he injured his back and he couldn't do squats anymore. He couldn't do deadlifts anymore. His whole life was falling apart because he couldn't lift anymore due to this back injury. And then he decided, well, let me create an exercise that will allow me to train, but without the axial loading, right? And he couldn't even do glute hams like we were doing before. What he did was he invented the reverse hyper. So I'm going to do reverse hypers next, and that may be an exercise that you want to add to your routine if you're trying to recover from deadlift pain or injury. So earlier I mentioned having frontal plane imbalances, right? One hip higher than the other, one leg shorter than the other, or just muscle tightness on one side, quadratus lumborum, hip flexor, whatever it is. And so this final exercise I'm using today is critical for my development because I have that frontal plane imbalance. And it's simply side bends, right? With these side bends, if I'm gonna bend, let's see, I'm going to bend this way, I'm working this side. What I want to do is sort of reach down, boom, and come up. Actually, I have my feet the wrong way. So just coming full circle with what you can do to support deadlift strength in the face of injury or challenges of the sort. One last thing I want to mention is that working with neutral spine from the top of your head to your sacrum, right? From the rooter to the tutor, from the top to the bottom, you want to have a neutral spine and at least know how to stabilize within a neutral spine, right? That doesn't mean that you maintain a neutral spine all the time, right? Because in life we do flex, we do bend, we do twist, we do extend. But you should know what neutral feels like, and by doing so, you strengthen the most perfect posture, and then any deviation thereof when you're implementing other types of training or sport will be that much more strengthened. The deadlift, man, is an all-around spine strengthener. So that means if you got issues in your legs, your hips, anything that causes that spine to sort of like be bent because you've got imbalances down below, any kind of issues with your shoulders, right? It's going to affect your deadlift, your neutral spine. And then of course the neck, right? The cervical spine. You want to have that in a neutral position as well. Developing the core strength and then instantaneous axis of rotation within the shoulders. Healthy shoulders and healthy hips. All these things are going to go a long way towards developing your posture, thus developing your deadlift, thus preventing injury, bro. So I hope that helps you out. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope to see you next time. Done.